Good night. Yeah, bitch. You already know who it is. And they say the man with the 45, he beat with the man with the rifle, huh? Man, it ain't about what sword you got, it's about the man with the sword, you dumb fuck. Get your shit together. Hey, hey, war. Killer be kid, boy, I'm a menace. I call it down, but it's still in me. Tool at your head, boy, like a dentist. These boys rainbow, yeah, they feel me. I cannot show love to my enemy. I know these boys out trying to get me. It's a man down, but it ain't me. War. Killer be kid, boy, life is war. Come around the corner and I'm looking slow. I'm talking my prayer like it up close. I bring their heads off with the sword. Bring that bitch back to the Lord. I bring that bitch back to the Lord, yeah. I bring that bitch back to the Rags the bitches, I got my take up like I'm sick. Yeah, I took the decision, I made my mind up like I'm sleeping. AR-15, yeah, I caused a commotion, my teeth looking miss like new potion. She got a demotion, rub on her, I need some lotion. I stroke on her ocean, slow motion, now I'm exploding. I caused a collision, I'm too high like foreign train mission. Yeah, I'm sipping, I see your motherfucking vision. These boys keep talking that bitch and I pull up like pigeons. Like, where the bread and understand that I slap on the top of my enemies. Yeah, I already said that, halo is head, yeah, but don't take my kindness for weakness. Yeah, I get it, I got it, I'm possible, I'm my own pilot, I don't need no stylist. Roll up on me and you drop it, we can do the straight hand like I'm coming. I mean, hot, I got that body hot lava, it's lava, my silence a profit. Red out and stocking, just know I've been under something. I look at you, boy, you ain't nothing, I be like, war. Killer be kid, boy, I'm a menace. I call it down, but it's still in me. Tool at your head, boy, like a dentist. These boys rainbow, yeah, they feel me. I cannot show love to my enemy. I know these boys out trying to get me. It's a man down, but it ain't me. War. Killer be kid, boy, life is war. Come around the corner and I'm looking slow. I'm talking my prayer like it up close. I bring their heads off with the sword. Bring that bitch back to the Lord. I bring that bitch back to the Lord. Yeah, I bring that bitch back to the She asked me what I do, I'm always busy. I say I'm getting my weight up, obesity. She wanna come around and wanna visit. She talking through a pussy on. Listen, I'm all black. Counting racks. 223, keep that air on my lap. I'm riding through Cracker Village full of tech. But they don't want no fucking smoke, so I'll relax. I take a nap, bitch. You looking sad. You may not see me, but my voice on every track. Just like a tag, bitch. Your bitch a has been. Where in the world I stepped on it like a Mac. Yeah, you dumb motherfucker.
Yeah, you know what it is. 140 for the rapper, busy man, shit, nigga. They take their head off, nigga.
I pray where Eve did to Adam, I just pray my love don't lie to me. Swing the iron like Samson, I can't let no hoe to lie to me. I don't feel these rappers, all they lies is hypocrisy. Ain't no competition, ain't no rivalry. Niggas think I'm playing, I don't hear one word they saying, this shit light work. Think Muhammad one of us, he might lose his life first. Circle up and stay alert. Another cop can stretch the nigga. He ain't demon, this an exorcism. Watch I bless the nigga. You took that open blood, then you know I'm gonna get active with you. Fuck the opposition, I see vision. Let me paint the picture. Rappers claim they spin, I ain't listening. Is it factive? If revenge was a woman, now I scope that bitch like Jacob. So I war, we gon' run the summer. It's gonna be historical. Thought they making plays, made them niggas call the audible. As you run this shit, but that question is rhetorical. I'm the one cookies with the oil. I'ma get him crackers. Hell, should've never kidnapped my family. I can't just do that. Bet I be the last nigga standing. Do a life sentence for my niggas. Pray you understand me. I might put a switch on this Glock and call it young play. How you real trigger know them dots? You a bird feeder. Claiming he a demon. What's a demon to a cold leader? When he said something, I ain't hear him. This shit like it ain't about who got this gun. It's about who gon' up that fight first. I turn a bad situation to a game change. Bring soldiers from the dead. Just raise up the chains. Bring shots. I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run it. Never bite the hand that's feet, but you'll never get that hand back. He bitching about 10%. I don't want to hear none of that. He dropping sword. Fuck him. Just make sure you get that cover back. Look around. He ain't with us. Probably cause he never was. Now my chin like you with the angels for your brothers. Everybody won't be Richard Porter. God kill him like Alpo. Play if he want. It's laying in the trunk like Lee Malvo. A certified woman's ass nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, I with with that hollow sound. Yeah, this the real McCoy. Feel like Gullah Jack when I'm in Fayetteville. You feel your boy. Still up on my brain, still I think that's all that I. The way I get that boy lost, they gon' start to call him Elroy. Fuck his game. Pop out on them demons like I'm Hellboy.
All right. Clap it up. What is happening there? All right, let me go live here. Go live on TikTok. Sorry, Shalom. Habashima Shai Rakata to the brothers, Yahweh Shema Anatan. Basham Yahweh to the sisters. This is ISUPK Jamaica. Started at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. ISUPK run to the by Commanding General YAHANNA, man of the rank, and the authority to be the leader of the Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Right. You know, there's a time when, as a matter of fact, other people, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, were constantly being attacked by these wolves. I'm trying to get the best selection. Washington is a selection, the best view. How do I change this? I'm going to change this to the Jews first, then the Greek. I'm trying to change that. I can't change it. Let it see. times. What we're looking at this week, you know, in Romans, Paul had said that salvation to the Jews first, and then the Gentiles. But what did he mean by that when he said the Jews first? I'm trying to change this on the camera here. Let me change this up. I was able to change it here. Remove from stage scripture written. Trying to this Jews first. Can work. Like it can change. I'm not going to change. All right. Let's go to Romans 1 verse 16. Welcome to all our viewers, and our various media, TikTok. Welcome to you too. Welcome to all our viewers. Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1 verse 16. Where Paul said, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation." So the gospel of Christ is what leads you to God into salvation. To everyone that believeth. Who is the everyone? He's talking about the Jews, really. Or you know he's talking about the Jews. When here it says, to the Jews first and also the Greek. So, you know, people take this, Christians take this to say he's talking about everybody. But when really and truly, it's not talking about everybody. It is just talking about the Jews. Or in other words, it's just talking about the Israelites. But here, in particular, it mentions the Greek, who was called the Greek. Well, the Greeks were really Grecians, or in this case, it's those Jews who were taken captive by the Grecians. Now, if you are in the church, you won't have a record of when Jerusalem was captured by the Grecians. And why you won't have that record is because they have removed the Apocrypha. So by them removing the Apocrypha, they have removed a whole captivity of us under the Grecians, and when we were also under the Medians and Persians. There is, however, a record when we were under the Babylonians, and when we came back from captivity after serving under the Babylonians. But if you remember, Babylon fell while we were in captivity, and the Medians and the Persians took over. Well, this time, we were constantly being plagued by the Grecians. Then we went and sought alliance with the Romans. Then the Romans took us out in the time after Christ. But right here now, when Paul was writing, we were under the Romans. But he was making reference to the Greeks. So what we're going to do today now, we're going to look on the captivity of when we were under the Greeks. Hey, Shalom, Yabashim Yashai Barakatah.
Shalom, Adon, Yabashim Yashai Barakatah.
All things. Oh, yeah, then.
Kal Tawab, sir. Kal Tawab.
What you eating there?
Pomegranate seeds.
Man, then I eat. Oh, the red thing there, the red one.
Yeah, the pomegranate seeds. They're good for your heart and your blood, sir.
That one that look big.
Can.
Like them pump it up with some fertilizer.
Nah, me grow it.
Are you great in the backyard?
La, sir. I lie, me I tell. Salakia.
Oh, come I know the government do the charge if you grow your own tree.
No, I have one yard youth where grow everything.
Oh, and come from yard.
Mm.
You have to clarify yourself, brother. People will hear and listeners will hear and believe you talk about yard man.
He's a yard man in the UK.
When in Jamaica, when they say yard man or yard boy, you're talking about somebody who works around your yard, brethren.
Okay, Salakia, sir, for me.
When you're abroad now, whether America, Canada, or UK, and you say yard man, you're referring to Jamaica.
You see,
from Jamaica.
God. If we talk about yard man in the UK, we're talking about man that's the Jamaicans and a Jamaican and a yard man in the UK is two separate people, because Jamaicans can come and go as they please with a visa, UK and England. See, a yard man in the 80s and the 90s in the UK is a Jamaican that's done crime in Jamaica and run and left Jamaica, and he's stuck in the UK now. That was a yardie.
And he can't go back home.
Can't go back. Can't go back down.
I see. So you call him the yard man.
Yeah.
Come from yard, but he can't go back home.
Mostly, that terminology came from the shower gang, Tivoli man that moved to London through Rankin Dread and them man left.
Okay. All right. All right. So, well, the same way you're talking about us being abroad there and called yardman and so, it was same way in the times of the Maccabees. You have men who were, but these men were not free men who traveled to Greek. They were to the islands of the Greeks. They were taken captive.
Come.
Chris Payne say, I appreciate your honesty. I've been speaking pure truth from a start, from I opened the class. So I don't know what specifically you're referring to. All right, so back to what we're talking about now. If we're talking about something specifically, Mr. Payne, Chris Payne, you can type it in the chat. You can mention it. What specifically you're talking about? All right, so the time of the Romans now. By the time we were ruled by the Romans, they had our brothers and sisters who were from the time of the Grecians, who at the time of the Romans, they were called the Roman rule of Jerusalem. Those people were called Greeks. But they were really Israelites who was born in the islands of the Greeks and not born in Jerusalem, so they were not circumcised on the 8th day as was by our law. So they were referred to as Gentiles.
Right.
Right? They were not referred to as Jews.
That's right.
All right,
So, like, if I may, sir, there is another reason they were mentioned as Gentiles, if I may, sir.
Go on.
Because is it true that the captivity of Israel by the Macedonians from the Syrian captivity, where the Macedonians, King Philip and Alexander, his son, took the northern tribes that were not Jews anyway?
Which northern tribe?
The Native Americans and the Hispanics.
Oh, Israel.
Khan.
They were taken up by Assyria.
Khan, but then Prince Philip, King Philip, and Alexander, they took the spoils of when they invaded Syria.
All right.
And defeated the Assyrian.
If you remember, in the time of when Cyrus the Persian granted liberty to the Jews, those 10 tribes did not go back in the land. The majority of them did not remain in captivity. They said, we're going to a place where no man has dwelt. We're going to Asaret. Of course, you might have some who believe that they were doing quite fine where they were, so they would want to remain. And who knows what has become of them. Well, we're going to read First Maccabees chapter 1, starting from 1, going right into that when we talk about the Macedonians and Syrian and so. Because the thing is, you know, our Bible holds the record from the earth was created, you know. It's just for you to read and find it, and then the earth itself also holds record, which is why you can go and research where Babylon was, find the old Babylonian records, and then when they look, they find records there that show that, yes, they did invade Jerusalem. There were some people that was carried to Babylon in captivity, and so on and so forth. Hey, Shalom, you have a What happened? Hey, I'm not hearing you. I don't know if you're mute or what. I'm not hearing you on the phone. Ring me back. All right, we have some technical difficulty here. What happened?
I got knocked out somehow, sir. I was ringing you to let me in back.
Okay, I tried, but it wasn't showing.
God. First Maccabees, which verse, sir?
Starting from chapter 1, reading from 1.
God. The book of Maccabees, the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chetim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
All right. So the first over Greece was Alexander, a white man named Alexander, King Alexander. You know, it is believed that the bloodline of the presidents in America come from this same man, and the bloodline of the kings, the white kings in England, came from him as well. Henry VIII, was it King Henry VIII? Right, and they say Henry VIII come from Alexander's bloodline. It's impossible.
Salakia, sir, you don't believe that?
I'm saying it's not impossible because
No.
they have not gone into captivity to lose their lineage.
I have a question for you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so from the fall of the ancient Roman and Greek civilizations, 500 AD, we know that we took the spoils of Europe. So we were the gladiators and we was the slaves and captured in the Roman and Grecian empires in that era. But the fall of the ancient Roman and Greek empires, their civilizations in 500 AD, we ruled Europe from onwards for 950 years, from 500 AD to 1452, right up until King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella built an army strong enough to exile us out to North Africa. And we've got the records of this. So if we ruled Europe for nearly 1,000 years from that era, Henry VIII, King Richard III, King James, all these kings within that era of 1,000 years ruled Europe, ruled France, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland. So surely the monarch in that era would have been Hebrew Israelites. They would have been Negroes.
All right.
Including Henry VIII, sir. He was around about the 13th, 14th century.
Hold on. You know that the thing there was always there though. The papacy, the popes.
So lucky who, sir?
The popes, the lineage of popes. Pope.
Khan.
Yeah, they were always there though. Even when the Romans fell, when Rome fell and darkness, they were still there. And the records are still there in the Vatican.
So lucky other one. So who are the cave dwellers the Bible speaks of in that era?
Yeah, that's them. But it's not all of them who went into the caves.
God on time.
The Roman papacy was still there. Look, I'm not saying that it is true, you know. I'm just saying it could be. Because the Roman papacy was there, and they knew. If you check the Rome, the popes, you can have the popes go way back, even when Europe was being ruled by the Dark Ages, in the Dark Ages, when dark people was ruling Europe, papacy was there. And maybe that was where we made the mistake. We should have wrote it out.
Right.
Because that was where they regrouped and formulated themselves on how we're going to take over back Europe and take over back the world. You understand?
Right.
So there was a lot of, I suppose in the time when the kings were ruling, the black kings were ruling, they probably look at the Vatican and say, them no business in politics, we could just leave them alone. Probably that's what happened. But anyway,
Right.
we're not speculating. We're not here speculating. We're reading Maccabees, reading about Philip. And remember, the scripture also told you about, the scripture told you about when Philip died, how the kingdom split. I don't know if we're going to read it in verse 1. We're just reading Maccabees 1. But when Philip died, the kingdom, the entire kingdom, because the kingdom was really strong under Alexander, because he had reigned over the Persians and the Medes, who were the Arabs, and he had reigned over the whites. And then this kingdom split into 4 after, and he had reigned over Egypt and Jerusalem. Well, it's not him who reigned over Jerusalem at that time. It's one of his evil grandchild. All right. You read verse 1. Read 1 again and just go into 2.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, and smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
Right.
And
so it was a time when the Medes and the Persians was ruling the world. So he killed them. He killed Darius, that king who was ruling the world at the time, and took over. And he became the first over the kingdom, because before it was called Greece, it was called Macedonia. And until this day, you still have a place in that region that is called Macedonia.
That's right.
Yeah. So they were originally Macedonians. All right. Continue.
And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth.
Right. So that is what he did. He went on a rampage. So even though the Medes and the Persians were holding sway over the earth, he still, and he took it over, he still increased the power at that time. So he made wars and slew kings of the earth. What do you think happened when he slew them kingdom? Take over their kingdom. Verse 3.
And went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
Right. That the earth was quiet before him. You know, I feel big now. Oh, man, it's done now, you know. I'm the big man on the earth. Read on.
And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him.
Right, so they pay taxes to him. Today now, in this so-called modern time, which the more there's nothing modern about what is happening now. What they do now to get you to pay tributary to them, you don't just take up your money and give them to them. Them lend you money. So you are foreign. Somehow, those debt keep you paying to them, because you have to be paying interest to them, while they come in your country and, you know, get hold of your resources. That's one way they do it. They control your resources. I'm talking about today. Control your resources, and then lend you back some money, which you use to run a country and pay back taxes to them. That's how they use. That's how they get you to be tributaries to them today. Read on. are to pay taxes. It's not called tax, it's called debt servicing today.
And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die.
Okay. So him get sick and him say, boy, you look like I'm not going to recover from the sickness. Verse 6.
Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had brought up with him from his youth. Salakia, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive.
So what, before him even dead, him say, all right, when I die, this is going to go to you. This is going, because these were men who were loyal to him when he was a young man. So he repaid them, divide up the kingdom among them. Read on.
So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bear rule, everyone in his place.
Right, just like how we said it before he died, they took over his kingdom. That's the Grecian kingdom now was parted into about 4. I think he had 4 generals. Continue.
And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth.
Right. So each one who get a kingdom, when they call himself king over that kingdom, over that section. So, all right, and me rule this part, and my sons after me become king over this place. All right. Read on.
And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
All right. So 137 years after when the Grecian kingdom was established, Antiochus the son ruled. But the scriptures let you know that he was a wicked root. This man was, it seems as if he was even more terrible than Alexander. But he didn't rule over all the kingdom of the Greece that his father had. He had his section, which I think his section included Egypt. Egypt was his section because we know that Alexander did invade Egypt. But in this record now that we're reading, we're going to see where he went back into Egypt. Read on.
In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
All right, in this one little verse now, it is telling you what is happening. This was a period after the Babylonian captivity, where you read about Nehemiah and those other brothers who rebuilt after the Babylonian captivity. What were we doing after we rebuilt Jerusalem in those days? What were we doing? We were keeping the laws. Right? So, all right. Do I need to draw a reference back to that, or do we know it already? Huh?
You have a precept, sir, for the audience, for the listening audience in the stream.
Yeah, you can find where when Nehemiah and the other brothers went back into Jerusalem. to rebuild. All right, let me see. That would be which more than one book, you know. Which one is the best one to read? The book of Nehemiah, the book of Hezekiah, which one? Let me see. Let me try. Ezra. Ezra was, I think Ezra was the name of the high priest. All right, go to Ezra. Book of Ezra, chapter 1.
It might be in Nehemiah 8 and 8 as well, sir.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's in several books, but let's use Ezra. Ezra tell you about Cyrus.
Book of Ezra.
Chapter 1, reading from verse 1.
God, on the book of Ezra, chapter 1, verse 1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he hath charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah.
All right, so we can read. Just read 3 next.
Khan, who is there among you of all his people? His God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Lord of Israel. He is the God which is in Jerusalem.
Right. So that was when we're coming out of the Babylonian captivity now, and we went back into Jerusalem. Just an handful, really, it says. And we rebuild the kingdom. After rebuilding the kingdom, we're reading about, go back to First Maccabees now. We're reading about not Cyrus, but Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes, that he was slain by Alexander, and then drop down to 10. Hold on, where it's
Verse 12, sir.
11.
Verse 12.
Read 11 again.
Khan. The book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are around about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
Right. So by the time now we come down to the reign of the Grecians, our people now, they miss the Christmas and the, all right, at that time it would have been called, Christmas would have been Saturnalia, or, boy, so many different things celebrated in that time. You know. There was Saturnalia, there was the winter solstice, and there was the in Jerusalem, what they used to celebrate is the Nimrod tree. During that time, or today it is called the Christmas tree. And then you would have Tammuz in the time of what we call Easter, and Ishtar. and Queen of Heaven. In Jerusalem, they call it the Queen of, they call her the Queen of Heaven. So these were the things that they miss. So they think it was sorrowful because, you know, Christmas time, what happened at Christmas time? Gifts. Wow, is your phone ringing? A lot of gift giving and merrymaking. And then the time of Easter now, or Queen of Heaven time now, they would bake cakes and drink and merrymaking. So they miss all that. And then they talk about, since we have departed from the heathens, we have had much sorrow, which was indeed evil, because all our captivities was because we were doing these things. And here they are trying to bring back the same thing again on the people. Verse 12.
Khan. So this device pleased them well.
13.
Khan. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen.
Right. So they went to that evil king, and they get the go ahead to now celebrate their Nimrod tree and the Queen of Heaven and all the pagan. It wasn't called pagan then, but it was called the ordinances of the heathen. Or in other words, do what the heathen do. So they started to do what the heathen do. And this is what they did. Continue.
Khan. Verse 14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen.
Right, that's a gymnasium. So they built a gymnasium, continue, because what became popular now was to, you know, Olympic, what we call Olympic today was actually some celebration to a god then called Olympus, upon a mountain they call Olympus as well. So the exercise was where you make your preparation because you're going to do activities, running and competing and things on Mount Olympus. So we wanted to take part in that. Continue.
Khan. And made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief.
So them stop circumcising their children. They forget about the covenant and start to do the ordinances of the heathens. And we know what comes after that. Nothing but oppression. Read on.
Khan. Now, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt that he might have the dominion of 2 realms.
All right. So he wants dominion over 2 realms. So you say, all right, we'll go take Egypt now. All right, read on.
Khan. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy.
Yeah, go on.
Khan. And made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death.
Right. So the king of Egypt, Ptolemy, we know they call him out, Pharaoh. So it was Pharaoh, Ptolemy. Run from him. Catch him free. And today, you know, sir, he run from him. What is the word used? Exile. So the king went in exile. Read on.
Khan. Verse 19. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof.
All right, so you know that Egypt is right next door to Jerusalem. So once you get Egypt, that's where the cards start tumbling down. Read on.
Khan. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude.
So he went up against Israel and Jerusalem. Why they say Israel and Jerusalem? Because the people was called Israel, and Jerusalem was a city that, or if you want to say the country, that the Israelites would have lived in. So he went up against the people and the city. Read on.
Khan. And entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof.
Right. So he just march in and take away these things right there into the sanctuary. But he could, because remember that these men, Israelites, already had gone to him and tell him, you know, we want to start doing the things that you people do. And then they gave them the green light to say, all right, yes, go ahead. So after a while, you see what happened now. You go to him saying, I'm going to follow you, and then he just come now and just march and take away your things. Just like that. Read on.
Khan. And the table of the shewbread, and the pouring vessels, and the veils, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crowns, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off.
All right, so these now were gold. These were golden things. The table of the shewbread was made of gold. The vials, the censers of gold, the veil, the crown. Probably it was a crown that the king, our king, used to wear. Probably. He took the crown, he took everything that we had. Go on.
Khan. He took also the silver and the gold, and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found.
All right, because within that temple that was at Jerusalem was laid in it riches. Whatever people used to donate things to the temple. So, you know, you might have gold, you might gain some riches and say, you know, I'm going to give this amount of gold to the temple. And they have a room that they would put it in. So those were where the hidden treasures would have been. And that would stay there. Because you know, gold cannot rot. Gold and silver don't get rotten. 100 years and it's there. The only thing happening is that dust get on it. You take it up, clean it off, and it's good to go again. All right? So he took the silver. What the silver was our money. Because silver is money, you know. Or I should say, money should be silver. So he took our money and he took our gold, took everything. Go on.
Khan. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly.
Yeah, because I'm a bad man, him just march in the country and just take something and take some great riches. Man, read on.
Khan. Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel in every place where they were.
Right. And this was all because Those men. Now, those men who would have gone to the king would have been men of power. It couldn't be any poor men. Men who hold sway within the country and who would decide that, all right, I rule over this province. So if we decide that we're going to worship the Queen of Heaven, then I will get my people to do so. I will build the altar and they will do that. Read on.
God. So that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed.
Right. The beauty of women was changed because you can't afford to buy the things that you would buy to make you beautiful. You know, the ornament, the earring, the gold chain, staying in a house and not going out to work. You can't do that again. You better go out, go work. You have to know tile hard. So the beauty of the woman would change. Continue.
God. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness.
Yeah. Well, the marriage chamber, what happened in a marriage chamber?
Marriage.
Yeah, sex. That's where the marriage was consummated. So why was she in heaviness? Well, one of the things that could make her, yeah,
She wasn't necessarily marrying who she wanted to.
true. Well, that is usually she would marry who her father give her to marry. So that might be the case even when we were in reigning. But yes, certainly that would happen then. But what else would happen? Or could have happened? When you are being invaded by another nation, what do you think happened?
Rape, pillage, murder.
Well, that first word, rape. So she's not been necessarily being married a virgin again. Or I should say a maiden. She's not a young woman who has never had a man. She is a young woman who has gone through the trauma of being raped.
Right.
And here now is another man coming to lay with her. Oh boy, she's in heaviness. Because she is not yet over the rape, but she's getting married. I understand. So she was in heaviness. Read on.
God. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion.
Covered with confusion. Now, yeah, because what would cause that confusion? Here you are because there was still righteous people among the people, you know, who knew the covenant and know that they should follow the covenant and all that. But I mean, you're seeing something totally different in the land. And what you're seeing in the land is something that you have no control over. It is only sway over you. I'm confused. Should this be happening? Isn't this what the scripture said we should not be doing? Then isn't that who is doing it? Not him rule the temple, not him over the temple. He's the man over this city. Should he be doing that? Confusion. All right, so read on.
Khan. Verse 29. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came into Jerusalem with a great multitude.
Hey, the man them get so many riches. Hey, you know, like them, you have a nice plate of food. So till all 2-3 days after, boy, you remember that taste there. What you want after? You want some more, man? True or false? Huh? All right, Yala.
Salakia, can you repeat the other one?
I say, you ever have a nice plate of food? Food so nice, man. Days after, you still remember it.
All the time, sir.
Right. And what keep coming in your mind? Boy, I want some more of that food.
Yeah, Khan.
That was exactly what catch the Grecians, you know, with Jerusalem, you know. Man, we get so much riches. We get some sexy girl, because trust me, you can imagine how beautiful those black ladies were. Damn.
Right.
If they look so beautiful now and they are being oppressed, imagine them when they were not in oppression, but they are just being invaded. Man.
Right.
So these Grecians now wanted more. And here they were coming back for more. Read on.
Khan. And spake peaceable words unto them.
What verse?
But all
verse what reach?
Verse 30, other one.
Right, verse 30.
Khan.
All right, read 29 and then 30.
Khan. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came into Jerusalem with a great multitude.
Right. So after him do that, you know, he make 2 years run off. I know say, why they must gather some more wealth. Let's go back on them. So I'm send back now him chief collector of taxes. Read on.
Khan. And spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when he had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel.
Right. So he went with a peaceful speech. You know, let bygones be bygones. Forget what happened 2 years ago. This is the way forward now. Forget slavery. This is what we need to do now. That is, slavery is in the past. Let's keep it where it belongs, in the past. This is where we're going. This is where we're at now. Let's talk about the way forward. And the people agree and say, okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a boy, you know, I lose my granny, I lose my grandmother, I lose my children, but yeah, I can't get them back. Them dead and gone. So yeah, I'm with you. What's the way forward now? And the people them do what? Lay down them arms and say, all right, peace time. And what did he do? Fell suddenly upon them. That means, you know, him just wait till night come down, and then under the cover of darkness, he went on them. So he went on them and he destroyed much of the people, and he smote the place very sore. So enough people he killed. Read on.
Khan. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side.
So this man had so many hate in him. Just imagine our people ruling in a city. Imagine how beautiful that place is. We are the ones holding sway there. That was why he destroyed it, you know. He think it was too beautiful for us. Nah, man, this place too pretty, man. Raise it. All right. So he pulled down, he burned it, and he not satisfied. He pulled down all the walls of the houses and take the spoils of the city. Take all the riches of them find. I want you to know this. Verse 32 is very important because spoils, the spoils of war does not only include silver and gold and, you know, tangible things that they find. It also includes this. Verse 32.
God. But the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle.
Yes. Even your cow and goat and sheep, all the animals you have, cow, goat, sheep, chicken, whatever it is, they are the spoils of war as well. Your horses that you own, and your wife and children. Now, what do you think them do with them wife and children then? What do you think happened to those wife and children?
Salaki, if I may, sir.
Yes.
The wives would be the women would become slaves. Maybe perhaps slaves that were used for sex.
All right. Well, most time when they take the women and children, they take them back to their land for servitude. So you have them to, you would give them to sell them, actually. Give them as present to your kings. But to the rich, you would sell them. So the rich now could have his own little maiden that he bought or she bought to do the work around the house, to work on their farm. In other words, they're gonna be slaves. Sex slave, that's the least. They're gonna work until the fingernails drop out. And that was the beginning of how it became to the Greek first, to the Jews first, and then the Greek. Because these women and children became Grecians. They took them, bring them into slavery. Right? And if you go back to the book of Romans, chapter 1 and 16, that was how it, I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jews first, and also to the Greeks. So those, the offspring of those women and children, were there in the isles of the Greek right up to the time when Christ came. Because there was no liberty that was granted to them for them to go back to Jerusalem, like what happened in the time of the Babylonian captivity. So they remained there in the Isle of the Greeks, and they became the Hellenists. You ever read about Hellenistic Greek or Hellenistic Greece? Those were the Jews who became Greeks. All right, so going back to Maccabees, we're going to read some more. Verse 33 now.
Shalom Khan. Then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them.
Build one.
A great and strong wall, and with mighty towers.
Then build the city of David. They put strong wall and mighty towers for stronghold. They make it a stronghold. So in other words, they barricaded that city and put the army inside that. So that now is where they are going to rule Jerusalem from. And you can't get to them to get them out. Well, or so they think. All right, verse 3. Next verse.
Shalom Khan. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein.
So they even move in Edens into the city of David. And why they call them sinful men? Because them people never follow your laws. These were heathens who were doing other things, following their gods and things. Read on.
Shalom Khan. They stored it also with armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there. And so they became a sore snare.
Right. So that city now became a snare unto us. Why? Because you had the Edens in there who were following other gods. You would have Israelites there, but the Israelites now in there would become slaves unto them. Plus, whenever they gather any spoils in the other wars that they would be making at other cities, with other towns within Jerusalem, they brought the spoils there. So there became a real stronghold. 36.
Shalom Khan. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel.
Right. An evil adversary to the word that was used there, not the Jews, but in Israel, because it was the people they were talking about. 37.
Shalom Khan. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, and defiled it.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
Shalom Khan. Insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Whereupon the city was made an inhabitation of strangers, and became a strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her.
Right. So those of us who didn't fall by the sword, we had to leave the city. We fled. And then what happened now? The place start become desolate. And then strangers start moving in and living in your city. And the people who born there and choose to remain, especially the poor, they start look so strange unto them. Next verse.
Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbath into reproach, her honor into contempt.
This is describing what had become all the beautiful things that Jerusalem would have gone. And this is what it has become. Read on.
Khan. Verse 40. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning.
Right. Excellency turned into mourning, because what had happened after Jerusalem had been built in the time of rebuilt in the time of Ezra, place people start to look on Jerusalem now as, you know, yeah, they're a beautiful place. They are becoming like a place now to you want to serve God, yeah, you can go to that city. That's where you go. But here, our stupid brothers, brethren, men of Belial, evil men, wicked men, went and joined forces with them, the Grecians, and this is what the Grecians turn around and do. Which is why today we can't join ourselves with no other nation because we are here in captivity.
That's right.
Have to look unto God. If you ever join yourself to another nation here, as soon as they're going to help you out, yes, what do you think is going to happen? You're
Like if I
going to
may,
become captive to, yes, go on.
They're going to own you.
Yeah, and you become captive to them. Because they are going to look at you now and say, what? Look how you made America great. Look how you made Jamaica. You know, you were called the jewel in the British crown. So guess what? You better be called the jewel in my crown now. And the black Americans are going to tell you, well, you did make America great, so why not make us great too? And then they start to study the American records of how they did it and all that. And next thing you know, you become them slaves in captivity, just like anybody, just like the other ones that did us. So we have to learn how to look unto God. He's the only one that protects you. Next verse.
Khan. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people.
Right. Just like here in Jamaica. Out of many, one people. Why would he want everybody to be one people?
Salakia, sir, so that to make it an even more deeper stronghold, to strengthen his army and so on.
Right. So every nation now should leave their God that they are doing, and you're going to worship his God. Because obviously your God did not protect you from him. So you throw away that and come worship this. Right? But for us, by we joining to them, that is how they control us. So he wants us to be one people. Read on.
Khan. Verse 42. And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
Right. So one law is going to follow, and that is the law that him set. Read on.
Khan. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
There you have it. Start following him. So we even getting worse. Read on.
Khan. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
Right. So you're not going to follow, you're not going to have Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread and Feast of Weeks and all that. You are not going to follow my command. The God that we serve, that the king serve, you are going to serve that God. And you know how profane the Greek gods had become. Read on.
Khan. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days.
Right. So the festival days were the ones that were in Leviticus 23. Like I said, you know, the various high holiday, telling you don't keep those. No, don't keep them. What you are going to keep is the ones that I give you. And we know what those are. You're going back to the Queen of Heaven. You're going back to the Nimrod tree. You're going back to celebrating birthdays. You're going back to doing whatever the king said. That is what you should do. All right, read on.
Khan. And pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
How were we polluted? By serving other gods. That is what pollute us. And here we are now eating other meat. You eat swine, you eat unclean fish, you eat crab, shrimp, lobster. That is polluting you. Read on.
Khan. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
Chapels of idols. I don't want to call the church into the chapel. What is in it? What is in those chapels? Caesar Borgia, yeah, the white Christ, who's not in the Bible. And those are the ones that we're following today. Huh? So it is thing there all over again. It's the Grecian captivity all over again. And guess what? The Romans came in and did the same thing. They did the same thing during slavery. Man, it's to keep repeating itself upon us. Read on.
Khan. Verse 48. That they should also leave the children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness, salakia, uncleanliness, and profanation.
That is us doing all the things that the Most High said we shouldn't do. Putting on tattoo.
Right.
Men sleeping with men. Women sleeping with women.
Right.
You know, you think of all the things that you're doing now, which is not in the Bible, which the Most High spoke against. And today they are telling about modern time and the Bible is old book and you know we are in modern. There's nothing modern. That is by them say modern is just another way or another name of them getting you to do the things that they should not be doing.
Right.
Right? So all the profane things. That's how they get you to do it. Tell about it's modern time, man. Right? But as I said, but we should not be eating this. The Bible says, hello, the Bible is from BC, so and so. Now this is where they get us. Because every movie we watch and they tell about BC is showing some Stone Age man with the big mammoth elephant or dinosaur. So you get the impression that it was way back, which in a way it was just a naming of a time period before Christ came on this earth. It has nothing to do with civilization, really. Read on.
Khan. Verse 49. to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
Right. So they did all these things were done deliberately to make you forget about God's law
That's right.
and to change your mind from celebrating the feast days. Same thing like today. All these things that you do in the church which are not in the Bible is deliberate. So sit there deliberately to change you that you might forget about the law. Because when you tell Christian about the law, what them tell them? They don't want to hear that. The law done away with. The law was crucified on the cross with Christ. Which
Right.
is a lie. Because Revelation speak otherwise. All right. Next verse.
God, oh God. Verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
So what you're going to do? You're going to do what the king said. And you don't want it. So you end up doing what the king says. Read on.
God, oh God. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city.
So in those days, they actually had men who was placed within the city to ensure that you sacrifice according to these idols. Now today, they don't have that. You celebrate Christmas at your own peril, celebrate Easter at your own peril. There's no one forcing you to do it. You are now making that choice. But that is exactly what they wanted. They want you to make the choice. Read on.
God, oh God. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, every one that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land.
Right. Many of the people come on their side. If you remember, there was a time when, in the time of the Crusaders, many Christian wars were fought. So, you know, especially in the Spanish Inquisition time. During slavery, you had to go to church. Spanish Inquisition, if you weren't following the Roman Catholic Church, you were put to death. Until those who started to go into church and think, they leave you alone. Same thing like this side, like what you're reading about. Many of the people are gathered unto them, meaning many of the people are now stop doing the keeping the laws and things, and now following their command. But the Most High called this evil. They were committed to evil in the land. Read on.
God, oh God. And drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee the succor, the
Right.
succor.
For supper. Meaning, those who wanted to keep the laws and things, you have to go into secret places. So you know all the caves that you can go hide and the section of the mountain that you can go into and so on. And you are fleeing for safety. Read on.
God, oh God. Now the 15th day of the month, Casliu, in the 145th year, they set up an abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side.
Right. The abomination of desolation is where they sacrifice pig on our altar. And now what they did, they built idolatrous altars throughout our cities. So every town center would have an idol. So now what you do, you go in the town center and you sacrifice in front of everybody. So they see that you are sacrificing idolatrous thing. And you know, worse if you are one with who holds sway among the people, meaning you were someone with authority, is you then want to do it in the open. And when the poor man see you doing it, he say, well, I guess I can do it too. Read on.
God. And burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. Verse 56. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law, which they found, they burnt them with fire.
Right. So those books of the law today, they are the Bible. But the Most High did preserve a lot of those writings. But wherever in any city that these books were found, they were torn to pieces and burnt in front of everyone. Because you are not to follow them. Read on.
Verse 57. And wheresoever was found with any book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death.
So if you were found with the Old Testament, or the New Testament wasn't written yet, so it's any book of the Testament, or any committed to the law, meaning, boy, me I sacrifice, me circumcise my child, me I observe my feast days, and here I have a copy of the laws in my household, and I'm reading it. You are found with it, you'll be put to death. Read on.
God. Thus they did by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities.
Exactly. So as many that they found, they were put to death. Read on.
Right. God. Now the 25th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of Yahweh.
Right. So there now, 5 and 20. See, even the record of the time is there in the scripture. 5 and 20th day of the month. 25th day. Suppose it's the same Castle month. They sacrificed upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of the Most High God. There you have it. Abomination of desolation. Read on. Daniel.
God. At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised.
There you have it. You find a woman, you circumcise your child, they find out not only are they killing the baby, they're killing you too. Go on.
God. Verse 61. And they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them.
So even the priest that is performing the circumcision was put to death. Now, hanging them about it, that sound like some things that used to happen during slavery too. Nothing new, eh? Read on.
Right. God. Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing.
Right. So there were still some who managed to get among the people, still living among the people, and they were keeping themselves clean.
Right.
Many of them went into hiding and so on. Read on.
God. Verse 63. Wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant, So then they died.
Right. So they choose rather to die. Say, oh, good. But they kill me, then I'm going to eat pork. So then now you're choosing to eat pork. Eat pork, and when I say, man, the sweetest meat that. Don't even know where that came from. That came from this time when you were being killed and forced to eat pork. Now you choose it at free will, stating that it is the sweetest meat. Not true. Read on.
God. And there was very great wrath upon Israel.
Exactly. The wrath came from the Grecians. All right. Next verse, we're going to the next chapter. I should say not next verse, next chapter. First Maccabees 2, we're going to read from 7 to 12.
God. The book of First Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 7. He said, woe is me, wherefore I was born to see his misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when he was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of the strangers.
All right, so this man now was Mattathias, who the Most High put that spirit in him to stand up against what was happening in Jerusalem. When he came and when he saw, he witnessed it in his city, he felt something boiling in him. He said, woe is me. I never born to come see them a kind of misery and have my holy city and the people who dwell there to be delivered in the hands of the enemy, and my sanctuary into the hands of strangers.
Right.
That's what I'm born for. Read on.
God. Her temple has become as a man without glory.
And the temple of the Jerusalem has become as a man without glory. No, man, I'm not stand for this thing. Go on.
God. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets. Her young men with the sword of the enemy.
Right. So he's describing the things that he has witnessed there. And this was cutting him to the core. Read on.
God. Verse 10. What nation hath not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils?
Even until today. You hear what Mattathias was saying then? Every nation every known nation that was about at that time had put a part, had part in our kingdom demise.
That's right.
And has gotten of our spoils.
Right.
All right, you see how America is full of so many different races? How you think those races became to come to be able to live in America and even get American citizenship? How did that happen? You remember when Donald Trump signed the executive order removing birthright citizenship, which was the 14th Amendment, I think. You remember that, Officer Arayala?
God.
All right. Well, that was what we had fought for, because after slavery, our people was freed by the 13th Amendment, but they were not recognized as citizens of America.
So like the other one, if I may.
Yeah.
So what was the 14th Amendment?
So they come up with the 14th Amendment to say, if once you are born in America, you are to be given to be made a citizen of America.
Salakia, sir. So the 14th Amendment wasn't the abolishment of slavery, Laha?
I think that's the 13th Amendment.
I think it's the other way around, sir.
The other way around. So which one? Which one is the birthright citizenship?
I believe that's the 13th Amendment, sir. I believe the abolishment of slavery is the 14th Amendment.
The slave was abolished then.
Yeah, I may be wrong, sir.
All right, you can Google it because you would have to be given freedom first. What amendment? Which amendment freed the slaves in America? All right.
God. The 13th Amendment.
You can type fast one.
Yeah, the 13th Amendment was the abolishment of slavery and involuntary servitude. So your way round was the right way, sir.
So
the 13th Amendment was the abolishment of slavery.
Right. So you're warming some of that pranganat and some wine. So the fourth
that was passed by Congress in 1865.
Okay. Just the other day. 1865. So it was an act of Congress that freed the slaves. And then the next amendment says, once you're born in America, you are to be given American citizenship. But
the 14th Amendment.
Look what happened now. America is flooded with all races on our backs. Because that was for the Judites in America to now be recognized as citizens in America. Then the Chinese start to come in. The Japanese, the this, the that, Ammon, Moab, Ishmael, Elam, all the other races start to come in and be given birthright citizenship. So Donald Trump said, no. I'm going to remove this thing. So go back to Maccabees 2 and verse 10. What nation hath not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? All the other races came in America. They were built on our backs. Because many of them, when they came over into America, they were placed in black communities. You know the story of the Irish. The Irish was so poor that they were called Black Irish, you know. Even though they were white men, white-skinned people, they were called Black Irish. And they live amongst the blacks. The blacks take care of them until they grew and gained hand over the blacks. I think they were the ones who became the Ku Klux Klan too, in the South. So every nation has had a hand in our demise. All right, somebody asked a question. SHALAM, so if I may, the 14th Amendment states if you are born in the U.S., you are a citizen. Right. 14th Amendment gave you what they call birthright citizenship.
So, like you, sir, if I may. Originally, the 14th Amendment was the Bill of Rights to protect the slaves with the law. So everybody was protected by the law.
Yeah. But as you know, it was only the blacks and the whites that were there.
But it never worked for the blacks. It never worked for our people, other one. The 14th Amendment still doesn't work for our people. We're still getting shot down in the street by police.
Hold on. The 14th Amendment is not to say nothing can happen to you, know. It is just to say that once you're born in America, you must be given an American birth certificate. That happened. And it happened, it was so effective that even the other races came over there and benefited from it. But who was the ones who died for that to happen? The Black Americans. They died for the 14th Amendment to come into place, because what was happening before that? They were not, you couldn't have any American qualifications, American ID or so. You cannot recognize as an American. And many of them
So
were
like you say,
deported to Liberia. Yeah.
so like you say, for me, the Google, this is the 14th Amendment on Google. The 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution ratified in 1868. So it came about a year after the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment was passed at Congress, but the 14th Amendment was passed through the Senate. It addresses citizenship rights, equal protection under the law, and other important aspects of civil liberties. That's what it says on Google, Edward.
Yes, but it's the main objective there was birthright citizenship.
God.
Not because remember I said it was after that, you know, way after that, you had the civil rights movement in 19 something. So that equal protection under the law was just really to cover birthright citizenship. Not that, I mean, that was not to say that police was going to treat you fair. We had segregation after that. What? Everything that took place in America took place after that 14th Amendment. That took place against blacks. God damn. And now they remove it. God knows what is going to happen. All right, back to Maccabees, verse
13, sir.
No, 11 and 12 now.
God. The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 11. All her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman, she is become a bond slave.
Right, so she's not even a free woman again in Jerusalem under the Greeks. Read on.
God. Verse 12. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it.
And the Gentiles have profaned it. So they were the first set of people who the name Gentiles was stick to. They were the Grecians, which is why in the New Testament, every time when they talk about Gentiles, it's generally referring to the Greeks and who became the Romans after. But there are other people. There were Ammon, there was Moab, there was Elam, there was Ishmael, there was the Japhethites, but they weren't really referred to as Gentiles. Who was within our borders? Mainly the Grecians and the Romans. So they were called the Gentiles. And then when our people, those of our people who join ourselves to them, was called Gentile as well. All right, go back to Romans again. And then we're going to go back to some Revelation, and we can close out with some Revelation. Back to Romans 1 and 16.
The book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 16. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, Salakia, for I am not ashamed of the gospel of Hamashiach, for is the power of Yahweh into salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek.
Right. So the Greek here is not referring to the white man. It's referring to same Jews, but these were Jews who was not born in Jerusalem. All right. So, book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 1 and 2.
God on the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 1. Here is the word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities.
From that time until now, the Most High has been telling them, of all the nations of the earth is only you in know. Therefore, you are the ones that he punished. Which is why you check how many nations have come again, brought into black communities in America, in Jamaica here too, and have risen above the blacks. Right, because the Lord is not with us. Because we keep remembering the ordinances of the celebrating the ordinances of the events. We have to change that. Nobody can change it for us. We have to change it ourselves. All right. All right. Revelation. Take me to Revelation. Revelation 7, 1, 2, and 16.
You've gone silent, sir.
Huh?
You've gone quiet.
Revelation chapter 7. You hearing that?
Con.
All right.
7 and
Give me a minute. Here, verse 1 and 2.
Con, the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verse 1. And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree.
Right? So, in the time of Revelation now, this is where the Most High is bringing our captivities to a close and getting ready to punish the other nations who have had an hand in our demise. But that will not just happen like that. We have to make an effort to want to serve the Most High's, to keep the Most High ordinances. Right? And this is a description of what is to happen. Right? This wind that was blowing is talking about when the nuclear bomb dropped in World War, I think, II, that ended World War II. So that wind that was told to hold back was that destructive wind. 2 bombs dropped on Japan, and no more has dropped since. Hold on. All right, verse 2.
God. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea.
All right. So even though they think that it's this nuclear war and nuclear bomb, they have the power over it. Scripture is letting you know that there's an angel that is over that. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. So 4 angels are over those nuclear weapons. Can't drop until the Most High say time for it to drop. Verse 3.
God, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads.
So not until the Most High have sealed his people, those of us who will make a stand for his laws, for his ordinances, start keeping them, right, and be sealed, and to let sin be a disgusting thing unto us. And there is a quota. Read on.
God. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
And there were sealed 144,000, including the Greeks. Is that what it says?
Laha.
What it says. Read it again.
God. And I heard a number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
And there were sealed of all the tribes of the Edomites,
of Israel,
of the Ishmaelites, who are the Arabs,
of Israel,
of the Edomites, who are the Europeans and the Israelis that are in Israel,
of Israel,
of the Indians, who are the Elamites,
of Israel.
Only the children of Israel. The Most High intend to seal, right? And this is Revelation. This is where the closing of all the world works is taking place. Drop down to verse 16.
God. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat.
See, in keeping the Most High's commandments and following his ordinances, this is your reward. You shall hunger no more, you shall thirst no more. Does that mean that you won't feel hungry? No. You know what this hungry talking about? Not you feel hungry, feeling hungry. Is this talk? You ever hungry and can't find food? That's the hungry it is talking about. You ever thirsty and can't get water to drink? That is what it's talking about. And you can't find food and water. Why? Because you're in captivity. Just like the slaves. And where were the slaves working? Right out there in the sun. So this is another way to say they will be in captivity no more. Right? So, Romans is talking about us, blacks, Hispanics, and natives, who are the children of Israel of the Bible, the Israelites, the true Israelites. All right? So with that, to pass the class over to Priest and Officer Arayala. You can just salute out.
God, clap it up. So like your other one, you don't want the security announcements.
Sure, you read the security announcement.
Card one, card. These are the ISUPK security announcements. We are the ISUPK, started out on West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for a new brother and sister. When a new brother and sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Ties, which is a commandment. Numbers 18 and 21, Malachi 3 and 8 to 10, means a tenth in the Hebrew, Ma'ai Asherah, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Israel, pay your tithes. Pay your tithes on time. Give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations, 49 days from the last day of unleavened bread, the feast of Pentecostal or first fruits.
Sunday, June 8th, before Sunday.
Sunday, June the what, sir?
8th.
8th of June. And that's 49 days.
Before
Counting.
Sunday.
That's 49 days or 7 weeks on the Gregorian calendar, counting from the last day of unleavened bread. Remind Akim and Aqua to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black boots, shirt, pants, headband, and scarves. And with that, we're going to give Officer Abadawan one courtesy salute. Melev Israel, I Madium.
Hold on, Salaki, before you salute. It says 50 days, count 50 days. And celebrate it on the 50th day.
Khan, yeah, 49 days, and on the 50th day, we celebrate it.
No, my
That's the feast of first fruits.
Hold on. Just read what it says on the holiday calendar. You mentioned 49 days. We understand that when you're counting from, but you're going to confuse a lot of the younger ones who don't understand. So it's 50 days.
Men of Israel, I Madium Shabbat. I Madium. Barak. Yehovah Hashem Yehoshai Brakatah.
Yehovah Hashem Yehoshai Brakatah.
Yad Yamatah. Sah, which means turn and face the sisters for one courtesy salute. Men of Israel, I Madium Shabbat. I Madium. Barak. Yehovah Shema Eladam Ba'ashim Yehoshai. Yad Yamatah. Class dismissed.
All right. Shalom.
Thawadah for class. Heavy class, heavy topic.
On TikTok. Repeat what you said.
I said Thawadah for the class, heavy topic.
Yeah. Shalom. Next week again, we'll want to take a next step, following our true history, because our history don't really can't cover in 1 month. All right, so Shalom. Yahbashim Yahshai Brakatah. To all our brothers, Yahweh Shema Alatan Basham Yahshai, to the sisters. All right, Shalom.